Some people ask for little favors or acts of kindness, and that's normal. But there are certain demands no one should ever make of you. These aren't requests at all. They're red flags, warning that the person in front of you doesn't want a healthy relationship. They want control, and they'll take it, piece by piece. Carl Jung spent his life exploring the dark corners of the human psyche. He warned us about what lurks in the shadows of relationships. Sometimes it's not obvious. A toxic person won't come with a warning label. They come as friends, lovers, mentors, and their manipulation often hides behind words that sound almost reasonable. It starts subtly. A comment here, a suggestion there. Then come the requests that make your stomach twist. You sense something is off, but you can't put your finger on it. Jung would tell you to listen to that feeling. It's your unconscious recognizing a threat to your identity, a signal that someone is quietly crossing a line. There is a pattern to these toxic demands. Each time they ask you for something a little bit bigger, a little more personal. Each time you give away a piece of yourself. You might rationalize it as love or loyalty, but ask yourself, at what point does helping someone turn into betraying yourself? We've been taught that love requires sacrifice, and it does, within reason. But manipulators twist this noble idea into a weapon. They want you to prove your devotion in ways that damage you. In Jung's terms, they want you to hand over parts of your soul. They won't say those words directly, but their demands will. Imagine a quiet evening, two people alone, and the words, "If you loved me, you'd do this," slipping from one of their lips. It might be said softly with a smile, but the air suddenly changes. The room feels colder. In that moment, a test has been issued, a test of love, they claim. In truth, it's a test of control. This is emotional blackmail at its finest. If you loved me, you'd do this. Think about what that implies. Love, in their eyes, becomes a lever to move you. They're saying your love is worthless unless you comply. They've turned your genuine feeling into an instrument of pressure, and you feel it. The guilt, the tug at your heart. How many times have you been guilt-tripped by someone who claimed it was for love? How often has a plea for understanding been twisted into an ultimatum? Real love doesn't put a knife to your throat and call it a kiss. Real love doesn't demand a sacrifice of your dignity as proof. So why does this person insist? When someone says, "If you loved me, you'd do this," they're not asking for love, they're asking for power. Whether it's sleeping with them before you're ready or abandoning something important to you, the specifics don't matter. What matters is that little word, if. If you love me, prove it. If you care, obey. It's a trap laid with a single syllable. Jung might say the person asking this is projecting their own fear onto you, a fear that they're unlovable, unworthy, unless they can make you bend. By making you prove your love, they avoid facing the shadow of their own insecurity. But you pay the price. You start to believe that love must be earned through pain. Each time you give in to that plea, you commit a small act of self-betrayal. Your inner voice whispers that love shouldn't feel like this, but you hush it. You tell yourself you're being compassionate, understanding. Meanwhile, your boundary moves back just a little more. The line of what's acceptable blurs, and they will push it again, further this time. Never trust a demand that wears the mask of love but asks you to hurt yourself. Love is not a test with right or wrong answers, with passing or failing grades. Real love is given freely, not exchanged under duress. If someone treats love like a contract, sign your name in sacrifice. You need to step back and see the truth. That one phrase, "If you loved me, you'd do this," is a bright red flag flapping in the dark. It's not a proof of love they seek, but proof of your submission. Once you give it, the balance shifts. They know now that emotional blackmail works on you, and that means the door is open for the next demand. The next demand often comes cloaked in secrecy. Imagine this: they've done something that hurt you or something you know is wrong. You confront them, maybe you're upset or confused, and their response is not an apology. It's a quiet whisper. "Don't tell anyone what I did." In that moment, your reality is sealed. "Don't tell anyone what I did." Those words fall on you like a stone, heavy with implication. They've made a mistake or crossed a line, and now they're asking you to hide it. For them, out of loyalty. They want your silence as proof of forgiveness, as proof that your loyalty to them outweighs your loyalty to truth. This is how they isolate you. With a few words, they cut you off from the perspective of others. Maybe they even say it's for your own good, or that no one else would understand. But a healthy relationship doesn't live in the shadows. If someone demands silence about their bad behavior, you have to wonder, what are they so afraid of? What kind of love thrives in secrecy and shame? What kind of friendship demands you bury the evidence of their betrayal? By saying "don't tell anyone," they're not protecting you or the relationship. They're protecting themselves. They know what they did is wrong. They know it would look bad if the light of day hid it. So they recruit you into their cover-up. In that instant, you become complicit. Your silence is now their alibi. And here is the insidious part. Once you keep their secret, you feel tied to them. You carry the weight of what they did. You can't easily reach out for help or advice, because to do so, you'd have to break the secret. They've trapped you in a prison of silence. Carl Jung understood the power of secrets. He said that what remains in the dark will control us. The shadow, all those things we hide or deny, gains power in secrecy. When someone says, "Don't tell anyone what I did," they're forcing their shadow onto you. They know they can't face the consequences, so they make you bear their darkness with them. Think of the burden that places on your soul. You know the truth, you were hurt by it, yet you're asked to pretend none of it happened. This is emotional blackmail's quiet cousin, emotional bondage. Your honest pain is now locked away with their secret, and over time, that secret will eat away at trust, at intimacy, your sense of reality. Every secret like this is a brick in a wall between you and the outside world, and between you and the truth. They isolate you with your silence, and once you agree to keep their secret, the next brick is easier to lay. One lie, one omission at a time. You find yourself living within their narrative, not your own. As the walls close in, another kind of demand may slip in under the door. It sounds almost flattering at first, like you matter so much to them. "You owe me your happiness." Maybe they don't say it in those exact words, but that's the sentiment. They act as if your happiness belongs to them, that you shouldn't be happy unless they're happy. Picture this dynamic. Whenever you feel joy that isn't centered on them, they get upset. Maybe you achieved something at work, or you spend time with friends and you come home smiling, and they're not smiling. They ask, "Where was I in all this? Don't I make you happy? How can you be happy without including me?" Suddenly, your joy becomes a crime. Or maybe they frame it like you owe them because of all they've done for you. They might never say the exact word, "You owe me your happiness," but they might as well. They hint that you have no right to pursue interests or pleasures that don't revolve around them. If you do, you're ungrateful. If you don't, you're fulfilling your duty to keep them content. Can anyone truly owe their happiness to someone else? It's an absurd idea when spoken plainly, but under the spell of a manipulator, it can feel real. You start to believe your life is a debt and your happiness is the currency. In a healthy bond, two people share happiness freely. In this twisted version, your happiness is a form of payment, handed over bit by bit. This is where codependency sinks its claws in. They become the center of your universe, and you, in turn, feel responsible for their every move. Your day isn't good unless they're pleased. You walk on eggshells trying to keep them satisfied. Little by little, your sense of self starts to erode. You forget what it's like to do something just for you, to feel joy without looking over your shoulder. Jung might remind us that losing yourself like this is a dangerous form of idol worship. Except the idol is an ordinary person feeding on your light. You've given them the power to define when you can be happy. That's not love. That's a cage. A subtle golden cage, perhaps, built out of love and gratitude, but a cage nonetheless. Your identity begins to warp around their demands. This is identity erosion. You trim away pieces of yourself to fit their expectations. Maybe you stop listening to music they don't like, or you give up hobbies that took time away from them. At first, it seems like compromise, but real compromise doesn't hollow out your core. Real compromise doesn't feel like dying in slow motion. Each little thing you give up feels like keeping the peace, but piece by piece, you're keeping the peace by killing your own joy. Self-betrayal becomes a habit. You smile when you're with them, because if you frown, they'll ask what's wrong and take it as an offense. So you even start to hide your discontent from them and from yourself. Then comes a demand that cuts even deeper. The demand to give up your dream. Not just a hobby or a weekend plan, but a core ambition, something that's part of your soul. Give up your dream for me. It might be said in a moment of insecurity on their part, or as an outright ultimatum, and it lands like a dagger in your gut. Imagine telling someone you love about your deepest aspiration, a career, a project, a calling, and seeing not pride or support in their eyes, but fear or anger. They say, "Why do you need that? Am I not enough for you?" Or maybe, "If you go down that path, you won't have time for me." In that moment, you see what they truly value. Give up your dream for me. Those words might not come out directly. Sometimes it's phrased as concern. "I'm just worried we'll grow apart if you do this." Other times it's an outright threat. "If you really cared about this family." Either way, they're asking you to choose your future or them, and they expect to win that fight. What kind of person asks you to kill your own dream? Someone who sees your growth as a threat. If you shine, they fear they'll lose you. Your dream belongs to you, not them. And to the insecure, that's terrifying. So they'll try to cage it or kill it, and call that love. Real love would see your dream and want to help it soar. Real love finds joy in your joy, even if it takes you to places beyond the relationship. But a manipulative person only finds fear there. They see your independence and they panic. And in that panic, they demand you clip your wing. Better you stay grounded, dependent, within reach. If you give in, a part of you dies. It's not just the dream that dies, it's the spark inside you. Jung believed that people need meaning, need purpose to truly live. Sacrificing your dream to appease someone is like sacrificing your destiny. You don't just wake up one morning without regret. That regret grows, festers, turns to resentment, either toward them or toward yourself. This is self-betrayal at the deepest level, because a dream is often tied to who you are meant to be. When you abandon it for someone else, you are telling your unconscious mind your growth doesn't matter. And that unconscious will not stay quiet forever. It will haunt you with a quiet despair, the kind that you can't quite name until it's too late. The tragedy is, even giving up your dream won't ever be enough for them. It buys peace for a short while, perhaps. They feel secure that you're not going anywhere, for now. But the goalposts will move. The moment their next insecurity flares up, they'll find a new demand. That's the nature of this game. You can never surrender enough to fill someone else's void. By the time they ask you to cut off your friends, you might already feel isolated. Maybe you've drifted away from people while busy tending to this person's needs. But one day it comes out directly. Cut off your friends for me. Perhaps they frame it as jealousy or concern. Your friends don't really care about you. Your family is meddling. It often starts as a subtle criticism of the people in your life. A friend is a bad influence. Your family doesn't really respect our relationship. Over time, those seeds of doubt grow, and you begin to wonder if maybe they're right. You're already so entwined with this person that your other relationships have faded. Now they want you to finish the job. Isolation is the final fortress of control. If they get you completely alone and dependent, there is no one left to call out their behavior or remind you of who you used to be. They can rewrite reality as they please. When they say cut off your friends for me, what they mean is, let me be your everything, so you have nothing to compare me to. Why would someone who truly loves you want you all alone? They wouldn't. They'd celebrate your friendships, embrace your family, because they know these bonds enrich you. But a toxic person sees others as competition for your loyalty and attention. To them, love is a zero-sum game. Your time with someone else is time they feel robbed of, and so they issue the ultimatum, them or me. This demand often comes after a long campaign of making you doubt everyone you once trusted. They'll seize on every little mistake or slight from your friends and family to prove those people are against you. It's a classic manipulation. Divide and conquer. Once you stand alone, they stand over you. They become the only voice, the only perspective, and that's exactly what they want. By now you see the pattern. A person like this chips away at you, demand by demand. They test how much of yourself you're willing to surrender. Your voice, your privacy, your happiness, your dreams, your relationships. Each demand is a test balloon. Will you go this far for me? How about a little further? With each yes, your world shrinks and their shadow grows. If someone has brought you to this point, you may not even recognize yourself in the mirror. The vibrant, independent person you were has been gradually replaced by someone else, someone living in reaction to another's whims. It's as if they've performed a slow theft of your identity. What's left is a shell, going through the motions, wondering where it all went wrong. Stay away from people who ask you for these things, because they're not really asking, they're taking. Piece by piece, they will take everything that matters to you. They'll tell you it's for love, for trust, for us, but it's for them, their insecurity, their hunger for control, their fear of their own shadow. And if you give yourself over, they will consume you. Now, let a cold light expose this pattern. These toxic demands aren't random. They're rooted in a psyche of control and fear. Carl Jung would tell you that the person who insists you betray yourself is at war with their own shadow. They cannot conquer the darkness inside themselves, so they try to control you instead. This is not love. It's a desperate attempt to fill an inner void. It might feel dark to admit that someone you cared about is capable of this, but knowledge is power. Now you can see the game for what it is. Those little requests that made your heart uneasy, they were chains in disguise. This knowledge is uncomfortable, yes, maybe even painful, but it gives you something precious, clarity. And with clarity comes choice. No more shifting your boundaries and calling it love. No more excusing red flags as just how it is. Now you see the truth, and that knowledge is dark, but it gives you the power to decide which side of yourself to feed. The part that surrenders to fear, or the part that stands up. If you stay still, you fall back to sleep. So don't stay still, not now. Draw your boundary and step back into the light of your own life. Because every second you hesitate, you invite the dark back in. Wake up and move. Before closing, leave one sentence in the comments. Not a reaction, not a slogan. One brutally honest sentence that marks the moment you stopped lying to yourself. Disappear. Live. When you're ready, come back. I'll be waiting where I always am, on the edge, where it all begins.